12th, and we've split this up as recommended by department heads with two council agendas. So today we'll have the special council meeting, and accordingly, procedurally wise, and certainly the clerk would back me on this, that as is noted in the agenda is what will be dealt with today. So I'd like to call us to order and ask for the adoption of the agenda. Who would have that?
I have that, Mayor Cooper. I have quite a pile in front of me. So, first off, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Madigan, be it resolved that the content of the special council agenda for July 12th, 2018 be adopted as presented.
And I believe that should be as with an addendum, and that would include 2 in-camera items, as has been sent out to all of council. And I'll just turn to the clerk, Ms. Almas.
That is correct. So it's one additional item to the item that's already listed on the agenda.
On that, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest. You can raise it now or at such time that it may be included during the agenda as we go along. Please speak to that at that time. Strategic Initiatives Standing Committee from June 26th, 2018, the Auditor's Report 2017 Financial Statements. Now, I would presume, Deputy Mayor, that you would have that.
Yes, I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madigan, be it resolved that Council approve the Auditor's Report 2017 Financial Statements.
And any questions regarding this one? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Cooper. Just a quick comment. We received a presentation and a report from Sue Bright, Collins Barrow, and the good news was that we're trending in a positive direction. In 2015, the town was in a net debt position, and we're now in a net asset position, so that's a nice change. And on some of the points that she took us through, we were trending favorably in comparatives to other municipalities across Ontario, so that was certainly very encouraging.
Okay, on that note then, I will call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have fourth quarter variance report, and this was presented at the Strategic Initiatives Committee at the time. Deputy Mayor, you have that one? Fourth quarter variance.
Things out of order here.
If there is anything,
is there?
No motion, okay.
Okay.
So we did have that that was presented then. Then, yes, Councillor Fryer.
Does that allow me procedurally just to make a comment? Or?
About the fourth quarter presentation, yes.
Specifically about that, because I had noted that it had been verbally presented to us, and then it was attachment to this agenda so that the public and ourselves could see it in printed form. And I know staff has mentioned to us in the past that they're working on enhancing the opportunity for council to see some of the information in advance, so that'll come. But I wanted to note that similar to what the Deputy Mayor was just speaking on, in case somebody didn't have a chance to go in and they can view the SIC meeting, it's on video. But we did discuss the large surplus that came in for 2017 at $2.8 million. And we had concerns about the growth of the surplus, and we talked about that, but not from a utilization standpoint or a put to good use standpoint, because all of this goes into reserves and it's used to top up some of the accounts that have been drawn on, through the course of the year. It was also reviewed that in the future, components of the surplus will assist during the zero-based budgeting functions that they're going to be doing, and hopefully result in some annual changes, tax increase changes that'll be lower than anticipated right now. And In the past, the indication was that as per the community-based strategic plan, variance reports would start to be provided for water and wastewater. And the financial statements show it, but in a combined form under environmental services. And it doesn't provide the detail or explain the 2017, and there was actually a 1.3 additional surplus on those particular services. And the breakout of the expense also provides some clarity for comparison from year to year. So these reports should be included in future in talking with staff. That's the plan, and it'll allow for that reporting to be undertaken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further? Okay, then we'll move on to T 2018-04, 2017 Statement of Development Charge and Cash in lieu of Parkland Reserve Funds. Who would have that?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madigan. Be it resolved that staff report T 2018-4 titled Statement of Development Charge and Cash in lieu of Parkland Reserve Funds be received for information.
Questions regarding that one? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And we'll turn to T 2018-05, Statement of Reserves and Reserve Funds and Adequacy Review Report. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madigan. Be it resolved that staff report T 2018-5 titled Statement of Reserves and Reserve Funds and Adequacy Review Report be received for information and that the recommendations contained herein be approved.
Questions? Okay, I have one to the treasurer, and after reviewing there was certainly looking at what are the unmet needs or what have been items that may be increased, such as in the PRC with our waterfront master plan, looking at consideration of that today. However, under unmet needs, Ms. Leonard, there is no reference to the judicial inquiry as the financial impact there. And is that dedicated in one specific area at this time?
Through you, Your Worship, or to you, Your Worship, the money that's sitting in the Working Capital Reserve Fund is the amount that we did indicate is where the judicial inquiry funding would come from.
Thank you. Okay, on that then, I will call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have T 2018-07, 2019 Budget Process and Target Staff Report. Deputy, would you have that one?
I do. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Madigan. Be it resolved that staff report 2018-7 be received and the following recommendations be adopted. That the overall net levy increase be at the core rate of inflation for Canada as published by Statistics Canada as at June 30. And that assessment growth estimates as of June 30 are incorporated into the base budget and used to fund growth-related incremental costs. And the Council approved the budget principles policy and assessment growth policy by enacting bylaw number 2018-58.
Questions? Deputy?
Yes, thank you for comment. I'd just like to congratulate staff on this policies. I think the assessment growth policy, some of that was included in surplus, and I think the concept that municipal growth be surplus is a bit misleading. It's not necessarily surplus. It doesn't reflect on the budgeting process of the prior year. What it does reflect on is the growth that our community is having as these new buildings come online, and by putting those funds into a separate growth reserve to handle infrastructure costs or costs related from growth, I think is wise planning, and it helps to mitigate the infrastructure needs moving forward. So I'm certainly in favor of those policies.
And as stated in the background, important to note that staff are requesting a starting point for budget preparation. So this is looking at the policies and assessment growth policy and moving forward. So I very much appreciate it. Any further questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, along those lines, there should be a bylaw 2018-058. Deputy Mayor, would you have that one?
I do. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ecclestone. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2018-58, being a bylaw to establish a budget principles policy and an assessment growth policy, be enacted and passed this 12th day of July 2018.
Okay, passing, calling the vote for the bylaw. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have P 2018-08 tax relief / deferment programs for, this would be for seniors and for those with accessibility needs. I would take it then, Deputy Mayor, you have that one.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ecclestone. Be it resolved that staff report 2018-8 titled tax relief / deferment programs be received for information.
Questions? I'll call, yes, Councillor Doherty.
Yes, through you to the treasurer. This policy indicates that as a lower tier municipality, we do not have the power to institute a tax deferral policy. But the Simcoe County's policy, would that be roughly equivalent to some of the other upper tier single tier municipalities that you looked at? Like as an example, City of Ottawa, City of Toronto, is it more generous, less generous? Is there an opportunity for us potentially to reach out to the county and say, we're not keeping up, or we're in good stead as compared to what other municipalities are doing?
Ms. Leonard?
Through you, your worship, the county's program is based on section 357 of the Assessment Review Board Act, and it does not, it's not the same as the City of Toronto or City of Ottawa's deferral programs. It's more of a tax relief type program. If I may, your worship, I do believe that with our county reps, to advocate a deferral program at the county level would be the only way that it would be able to filter down to us.
Yes, thank you. I agree.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have T 2018-09, status of capital levy. Deputy, you have that one?
So thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ecclestone. Be it resolved that the staff report T 2018-9 titled status of capital levy be received for information.
Questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Standing Committee Report 2018-06-26, SIC 2018-04 report. Deputy, you have that one?
Yes. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ecclestone. Be it resolved that Council receive the Strategic Initiative Standing Committee Report SIC 2018-4 from its meeting held June 26, 2018 as presented.
Anything further?
No, I think it was a very productive meeting. We've dealt with the issues that were raised then, and we've covered a lot of ground.
I will call the vote then. All those in favor? That is carried. Staff reports from Strategic Initiative Standing Committee, July 9th, 2018. And first was the accommodation review update.
Yes, I have that. Thank you.
Okay,
Moved by
go
myself,
ahead.
seconded by Councillor Ecclestone. Be it resolved that Council receive the accommodation review report as presented and support the recommended option in principle, and further request that staff report back to the Strategic Initiative Standing Committee during budget deliberations with proposed options and costing for consideration.
Questions? And as noticed, this will be, come forward to budget deliberations for 2019. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have Information Technology Assessment Report.
Thank
Who
you.
would have, okay, go
Moved
ahead.
by myself,
Okay.
seconded by Councillor Fryer. Be it resolved that the information technology assessment be received and the council approve the additional IT resources to an upset limit of $30,000 identified in the assessment for the remainder of 2018 to allow IT staff to address the email migration and any resulting issues related to infiltration testing.
Questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have Fire Protection Services Master Plan.
Thank you.
Deputy,
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Fryer. Be it resolved that council receive the fire services master plan as presented and refer future expenses to budget deliberations.
okay, and it was a very thorough master plan. Questions? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have the 5-year capital plan. Deputy Mayor,
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Fryer. Be it resolved that council approve the 5-year capital plan and the recommendations contained therein be referred to the 2019 budget deliberations for future consideration.
questions? Councillor Fryer?
Thank you, Mayor Cooper, and as it's noted in the meeting minutes, staff made recommendations based on the report detail. The report is understandably conservatively based and provides useful context for us as council in the future when we're making decisions, and some of the knowns will be, or unknowns right now will become known, like the airport and Epcot. Cost allocation also needs to be fully implemented to complete the analysis. So the 1% tax increases within it and the suggested 1 million annual surplus target, they're just inputs. And as it's pointed out in the report, they're not yet endorsed. It just gives us food for thought as I said, some of these unknowns come into play. So I just wanted to point that out to the audience.
Thank you. Questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have C 2018-14, Accountability and Transparency, Part 2.
I have
Deputy
that.
Mayor.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Fryer. Be it resolved that staff report C 2018-14 recommending council hear and approve the recommended actions to implement the accountability and transparency measures recommended herein and enact and pass the necessary amending bylaw and updated accountability and transparency policy attached hereto, and further that council refer consideration of the enhanced accountability tools and identified gaps to the 2019 budget deliberations.
Thank you. And you'll see that the list of items that actually the clerk's department have been busy ticking off, and there's quite a list that has been accomplished already. Council, any questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Cooper. Just a comment that this has been an ongoing project for this council. I think we guys noted in the staff report have devoted a lot of energies to this, and I thank staff for their hard work on that. It's an ongoing project, and you can never go too far, I think, into improving your accountability and transparency in your operations, and so I want to thank staff for that report. Thank you.
I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And bylaw 2018-059. Deputy Mayor, you have that one?
Yes, I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Fryer. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2018-59 being a bylaw to amend procedural bylaw 2016-20, a bylaw governing the proceedings of council, standing committees and other committees and boards of council be enacted and passed this 12th day of July 2018.
Call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And next we have C 2018-15, Communications during Collingwood Judicial Inquiry. Who would have that?
I have that.
Oh, go ahead.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Fryer. Be it resolved that staff report C 2018-15 recommending council adhere to section 4.5 of the Corporate Communications Protocol when questions regarding the judicial inquiry are received, and that any questions related to the inquiry or other high profile matters be referred to and addressed by the CAO. Be hereby approved.
Excuse me, can I make a comment on that?
There is, I'm just going to look here. There is not an opportunity, I looked to the clerk, and it is not a standing committee, it is a special council meeting.
Thank you.
I apologize for that, but that's the rules of order.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay, I will call, actually, I think on that one, I'm going to ask for a recorded vote. Please.
Certainly, there being no further questions, all those in favor, please rise. You may be seated, motion's carried.
Thank you. Standing committee report. Now staff reports, PRC 2018-11, Gathering Circle Budget Update. Just to get that on the floor. Does anyone have, or it's just an informal? Sounds the, oh, sorry, standing committee report, yes. We'll take that first, and Dean, you can get one down for the next one. 2018-0709, SIC 2018-05 report, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. It's my last piece of business for the day. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Fryer. Be it resolved that council received the Strategic Initiative Standing Committee report, SIC 2018-5, from its meeting held July 9, 2018, as presented.
Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Staff reports, PRC 2018-11, Gathering Circle Budget Update. Okay, apparently there's a motion.
I have.
Okay,
I have
Councillor
that.
Doherty, would you like to get that on the floor, please?
Yes, I moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ecclestone. Be it resolved that staff report PRC 2018-11 recommending council approve a budget increase of $85,000 from the Waterfront Master Plan Reserve to accomplish the construction of a gathering place feature in Harborview Park by September of this year be approved.
Mr. Culver?
Thank you, Worship. As the report indicates, and as I think everybody's aware, we've been designing, planning, analyzing and building this structure simultaneously, which is very unusual, and we definitely appreciate council's confidence in us to get this done. Having said that, because we had to get geotechnical at the same time or prior to, after the budget was approved, we didn't have full analysis of the soils where the structure is to be placed. And as our contractor actually indicated today, we all knew that this was a landfill previously, but hoped that there was some structural integrity in the soil. There is not. It's what he refers to as popcorn. So the idea of floating this structure, which is essentially a big concrete ring on top, and hoping that there would be enough rigidity and structure within the soil to keep it stabilized, that's not possible. So we're having to drive piles pretty much close to bedrock. We have to get down about 6 meters, which created a bit of a jump in the budget, obviously. And so that's where a lot of this comes from. We've been pressing, and as I mentioned on Tuesday, I believe all of the vendors who are involved in this are acting like a team and actually very committed to this project for a lot of reasons tied to the significance of the project. So I don't believe that we've had any value challenges in any of the contracts that we've put forward. However, we are designing and building it simultaneously, and that stands to reason that we're gonna run into some unforeseen and hence the ask for funding to get the thing completed.
Thank you. Questions, council? Councillor Lloyd?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Dean. Do you foresee any further problems funding this, or any unforeseen that you should require right now, getting some possible funding for, or some contingency for?
So through you, Your Worship, as of this morning, we met with the piling contractor on site, and as of this morning, and I would say by Monday, we'll have a very good idea of our current contractual obligations to achieve the project. I would like to think we're not going to have any other unforeseens, and certainly the analysis of the soils and the rest are in place, and we feel pretty confident that we're there, that we understand things now. The only place where I'm struggling a little bit is that we've compromised on the landscaping for the structure. So we've pulled out some of the plantings and whatnot in order to create the buffer we need to achieve the number we're now presenting, the $685,000 price tag. So yeah, we will hit the number. I don't believe we'll go over that number because now we understand more about what the unforeseen, but we are compromising the project a little bit in order to make sure that we can get things done in a cost-effective way.
So, how much is the compromise for the landscaping?
It's difficult. Like, it's not like we're not going to do any landscaping. We are. There'll be sod. There'll be a certain amount of plantings. I off the top of my head, and without really having dug into it, because again, that's sort of a part of the project that we do once we have everything else established. We've just sort of said we won't do that. We'll do a nominal amount or a minimal amount, but it could be anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000. We have some money for planting in the current budget. I don't want to make it sound like nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be a structure without accoutrements, but
if it were a reasonable number, it might be wise to get it out of the way now.
Well,
do it once.
Sorry, through you, Your
Mr.
Worship.
Culver?
What I think that the project team is really comfortable looking at this as a phased approach, and I think that's probably something that we can get behind, because again, we're trying to hit a September 6th deadline here. We recognize that this is a significant spend, and we're not trying to find ways to add expenses. We know that this property can be and will be developed over a longer period of time. So this compromise is a compromise versus what we initially planned when we first approached council and we started talking about what the site would end up looking like. But it's not really a compromise in the sense that it will never happen. It will happen. We feel very comfortable with it as a phased approach. So the Armorstone outer ring of that ancillary space, that can happen in a subsequent year. That's not the end of the work. And we have a lot more building to do in that park, so there'll be other opportunities to source funding that can accentuate things.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Doherty?
That was my question, actually.
Councillor Fryer?
Similar, I wanted to point out that we discussed how this is an anchor project, and it just opens up so many additional other situations for us. But most importantly, it moves us towards forward in appropriate manners with our Indigenous partners, and that's so important to this community for a number of reasons. And I stand with what we saw the other day. The inclusiveness of the project is obviously a paramount concern to everybody involved, and they've done a tremendous job with it.
Did you have a question?
So I'm just making that comment. Thank you.
Councillor Ecclestone?
Yeah, just for clarity, Dean, we're going from an estimated budget of 60,000 to 145, is that correct?
Or, through your worship, the estimated budget was 600,000. That was our presentation to council based on the conceptual budget of the master plan. We are now requesting an additional $85,000 to add to the 600.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Next, we have a motion to proceed in camera. Who would have that? Councillor Fryer?
Thank you, Mayor Cooper, and moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ecclestone that the council proceeds in camera in order to address a matter pertaining to labor relations or employee negotiations, water union negotiations. As well, there will be the B portion that the mayor referred to earlier, which has to do with the share sale update. I believe that's the terminology that's being used.
Clerk Ellis?
Certainly, and that will include the provision of receiving of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
On that note, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And we will go into closed session, and when we come back, I'm going to give you guys a report. So there will be on the first item, which is water union negotiations, and then we'll have confirmatory bylaw and adjournment. So at this point in time, those of you that are in the